It's time to grow and scale your coaching business the impact-driven, simple and sustainable way. Welcome to Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. I'm your host, Sofia, mindset and business coach, supporting ambitious new and rising coaches to master their mindset, create an aligned and profitable strategy, and grow a six-figure business and beyond using the Rising Coach method. I built $1 million business by the age of 26 in under 4 years, and I've coached hundreds across the globe to build incredible businesses that create freedom and fulfillment whilst having a whole lot of fun along the way. And in this podcast, I will teach you the mindset, strategy, and energetics to do the same. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. Guys, you'll be super proud of me. Today's episode was recorded the day before I was meant to release it. So it feels so weird saying that out loud because I'm presently doing it. So basically I'm recording this the day before it's meant to go out, which for anyone that listens to the podcast regularly will know that I have a habit of being ultra organized and pre-recording episodes weeks and sometimes a couple of months in advance because I just hate having things on my to-do list, and I upload 2 episodes a week. So I kind of need to be organized. But today I'm not organized with this particular episode because I really wanted to sit on the lessons that I wanted to share in this episode. I didn't want this to just be a quick random episode. I really wanted to be intentional with what I shared because it's just really important to me that the information that I share to educate or inspire or empower you in any shape or form is coming from my real experiences and beliefs, so that if you're wanting to create a business or a life similar to mine or equivalent to mine, that these are genuine things or lessons that are actually going to support you to do that. And so whilst some of the lessons that I'm going to share with you today may be things that seem quite generic or things that you've heard so many times before that you quote unquote know already, I encourage you to listen the whole way through, because sometimes the things that are repeated so often by many people, there is a method to the madness there, and there's maybe a reason why it's mentioned so many times, but sometimes it just needs to be the right time and place, or even the right person to articulate something in a particular way that gets the lesson or the learning or the information to really land for you and sink in. And I hope that the way that I explain my lessons today really serves you, and it could just be one of those things where you're like, wow, I'm actually going to take this lesson with me and adopt it as a belief, and it's going to support me in the trajectory of my growth within my business, right? Like that could be what actually happens for you if you decide to be present in this episode and you take notes and all of the things. So if you're new here, my name is Sofia Bernardi. I'm so happy you're here. I love podcasting. I love just really being real here and transparent and giving everything away, to be honest, because I just don't believe it serves anyone to not do so. So if you love audio form content and that's how you like to learn, then this is going to be the right place for you, because I upload 2 episodes every single week. And yeah, I'm always as real as I possibly can be so that it's actually helpful. With that being said, today's episode is extremely special to me because I'm sharing 5 lessons from reaching $1 million in 2023. Now, when I talk about this, I'm going to give a couple of disclaimers because, again, transparency, right? So the first thing I want to share is that I'm talking about $1 million to date within my business. I have been in business for 4 years and I reached the $1 million mark in just under 4 years. So I think a month or maybe a few weeks before the 4-year mark within my business. So I reached $1 million in sales and in Australian dollars in under 4 years. And yeah, that was a couple of months ago now. So I feel like it's been enough time for me to really sink into that reality and acknowledge that. And now I really want to share some of the lessons. And of course, after 4 years of doing something extremely consistently, you can imagine there's way more than 5 lessons, right? But these are 5 of the most important in my personal opinion. But of course, know that there are lots of lessons, and that's why I encourage you to work with someone, because someone can only share so much in the free content, right? Like there's just not enough space or time to do so. But when you work with someone very closely in a program, whether that be one-on-one or a group program or a mastermind, you really get to live and breathe in that person's proximity and energy, and naturally they rub off on you. And that is super powerful. And I actually get into that in one of the lessons today. So I might as well just jump into it. So let's just dive right on in. 5 lessons from reaching $1 million to date within my business. But that milestone was reached in 2023. So let's dive in. Number 1 is consistency is key. And before you roll your eyes, I know you would have heard that so many times before. But again, I'm going to share it from my perspective. When I say consistency, I don't just mean in your actions. I mean in your thoughts, your feelings, your strategy, yes, your actions as well, and in your commitment. It is the consistency of all of those things that is key, right? And in order to do that, you need to have discipline. Discipline is so underrated. It is crazy to me. So many people rely on motivation, which is a feeling that is designed to come and go and ebb and flow. Whereas discipline is a no matter what kind of emotion. Like you show up and you do what you say you're going to do no matter what you're feeling, because you are going to fluctuate in how you feel. And that's where discipline is required. The other point to this that I think often people don't share is that when people talk about consistency, they are not talking about constantly. That is 2 different things. I'm talking about consistency being key here, not constantly. So you don't need to be showing up constantly 24/7, no matter what, and burning yourself out in order to rise and grow. Of course not. But do you need to be consistent? Absolutely. Is the quantity in which you show up helpful? Absolutely. Of course, the more you show up, the faster you're going to learn and you're going to grow and you're going to improve and master something, and the more exposure you're going to have, which is of course beneficial. So yes, whilst quantity matters, equally so does quality. So consistency has been so important to me, but like I said, not just with the actions, also with my thoughts. If one day or 1 week or 1 month you're on a high, you're feeling good, life's great, you're positive, you believe you can reach your goals, but then the next day or the next week or the next month you feel the complete opposite and it's this big yo-yo. Of course, some fluctuation in emotions is absolutely normal. We are human beings having the human experience. It's not that you're meant to just be completely numb to life's experiences. But if you're just like constant in these big crashes of ups and downs, there is going to be instability in your results as well. You need to have consistent belief over time in order to generate consistent results, ironically, okay? So having consistent thoughts and beliefs and feelings is really, really important. Being consistent in your action taking and your strategy is also essential, right? So to chop and change your marketing approach or your messaging or your niche or whatever that may be all of the time only creates confusion for your audience, and a confused mind will never buy, right? People need clarity, they need trust, they need safety, they need confidence to buy from you, and they're not going to get that if you are inconsistent, okay? So you need to be consistent. And then finally, with commitment, right? You need to be consistent in your commitment within business. Super essential. So when I say consistency has been key to reaching $1 million to date within my business, I bring a lot of that down to just being consistent. I wasn't impatient. Yes, I'm a pretty ambitious person and I want things like yesterday, but also I'm in it for the long run. Like I'm truly in it for the long run. And when you're in business for the long run, there's no actual rush or urgency. You focus on sustainability and simplicity and enjoyment so much more, because there is no real rush. Of course, we can desire to have a better life or have more abundance and expansion in our life. And when you are in it for the long run, you're just going to be consistent rather than these crashing highs and lows. And ultimately, that allows you to grow faster anyways, because it's not sustainable to have crashing highs and lows, right? So we want to focus on sustainability and longevity. And the way to do that is to be consistent. Okay, so that's why it's been one of the biggest contributors, because I'm not an overnight success and neither is anyone. It takes time. Yes, some people grow faster than others and so forth. Of course, there's many factors as to why that is. But one of the roles that is across the board in common for all quote unquote successful people, with whatever that looks like for you, is they have been consistent in one way or another, but typically in many ways, and that is why they are where they are. So all famous people, all successful people, please know that behind their successes is usually a long run of quote unquote failures and these big ups and downs and challenges along the way, and they just kept going no matter what. And again, that's where the discipline part comes into the consistency, is you have to have the discipline to have a why that is so much bigger than you, that allows you and supports you to keep going even when it just doesn't make sense and it's so freaking uncomfortable. Okay, so number one is definitely consistency. Like, there's a reason I share it as number one. I know you've all heard it a million times, but please know that it plays a huge role. And I'm going to go as far to say that 90% of people are inconsistent. And so there's a good chance that you're listening to this right now and you lack consistency in some way. We're all human beings, right? None of us are perfect. I'm sure we all have certain areas where we're more consistent than others. But if you're wanting exceptional, consistent income and results within your business, please first look at your behavior and ask yourself and be really honest with yourself. Are you being consistent? If not, my guess is that you don't have support, in which case that is something that you need. Or you're not using the support to the best of your abilities. You're not leaning into that support enough, right? Because support, and often that comes through investing in the support so that you have that commitment there, which allows you to show up and be consistent, right? That's what allows you to grow so much faster. You're held accountable in so many shapes and forms. So consistency is key. And if you're not consistent, please don't expect consistent results. And you also have to have the detachment with that, right? So you can't just be consistent for like 2 or 3 weeks or even 8 weeks or 12 weeks and be like, oh, where's my $1 million? Where's my 6 figures? Where's my 10K months? Where's my 5K months? Like, sometimes it takes time, guys. And that's why the detachment with the consistency is so key. So having big whys, having discipline, and having support is going to make that really easy. Hopefully that one lands for you. If it does, please message me on Instagram. I'm at Sofia Bernardi. I would love to hear your takeaways. And if you feel like, oh shit, she just really called me out just then, know that you're so safe here. There's no judgment whatsoever. We've all been there, and owning that, admitting that, is the first step to doing something about it. And you're one decision away from a completely different reality if you just make your decisions wisely. So that's number one. If you're enjoying this episode, then I'd greatly appreciate it if you're not already, if you could take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Your support fuels our mission to bring you even more valuable content every week. My promise to you is that if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, I'll continue making incredible episodes each week that help you to grow and scale your coaching business. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the episode. Number 2 is setting specific goals each year, month, and week with a well-crafted plan and evaluation to back them. That is essential. So that's a real big lesson and learning for me that's really supported me to reach well and truly over $1 million to date now, in the year of 2023. Now, the reason why is if you don't plan, then you plan to fail. If you don't have a target, then you're also aiming at nothing, right? And then it's really hard to get to a specific destination if you aren't clear on what that destination is to begin with, right? You won't even know if you've really landed there. And so having goals gives you something to move towards. It gives you a reason to get out of bed. It gives you intentionality in the mundane tasks or the not so fun tasks, right? Goals, for me anyways, has been just essential. Like, I've been goal setting since I was freaking 11 years old. I always would have these special rituals on the 1st of January every year. It was such a big deal to me. I took it so seriously, and I wanted to be so perfect on the first day of every year. And, so often after 2 weeks or even 24 hours, you're already like not following through, but over the years of being passionate about that and being aware of that, of like, interesting, I've said this over and over again and haven't reached it, or whatever it may be, I started to get curious about why that is and what I could do differently to get a different result. And I have studied goal setting from the best of the best. I've read all of the books, all of the blog posts, all of the YouTube videos, learned from all of the gurus and mentors, and just done all of the workbooks on goal setting, and through trial and error, of course. Over the years, I've really figured out the best process to not just set your goals, but actually commit to your goals and reach your goals. I have a pretty high success rate with achieving my goals because of a very particular process. But again, going back to that consistency piece, I don't just set goals once a year and then forget about them. Those yearly goals then become part of my monthly goals, and then that becomes part of my weekly goals. So everything I'm doing within my business is a part of that bigger picture, that bigger why, and is therefore very intentional, and it's made sure to be needle moving tasks or goals, rather than just doing things for the sake of doing things without clarity or intentionality. So setting specific goals each year, month, and week with a well-crafted plan. Like, it's one thing to write a goal, and it's another to have actually broken that down of like, what are the specific actions, whether that's once off or ongoing things that you would have to do to ensure your best possible chance of reaching the goals, right? That to me is the biggest difference. So I'm recording this, mid-December 2023, and the year is wrapping up, and I'm already planning and actioning my goals for 2024. Like, I've already written them out, I've already broken them down, and I've already started actioning them at such a deep level. And that's how serious and committed I am to my goals. And not for the achievement of the goal, but more so the way that I stretch myself and grow and who I become in the process of reaching the goal. It's actually about the journey, because that's where you spend most of your time. And this is coming from someone who grew up with a very overachiever based mentality, where I thought achieving things equaled happiness and equaled, success. Whereas now I know it's about the journey. Like, reaching goals, you only are happy about them for 5 minutes, maybe a couple days, at max a week. Then reality kicks in. And so what matters so much more than that end result is who you are being and who you become on the journey. And I mean that in every cell of my being. Like, I enjoy goal setting processes, and I enjoy the pursuit of it now, actually more than the reward itself, because again, there's just something to move towards. And the moment I reach my goals, I'm like, okay, well, I need another goal now, because I need to have something to move towards, or I choose to and I desire to, because I just find life feels more fulfilling when I'm doing stuff for a reason and for a higher purpose that's so much bigger than me. So having a well-crafted plan to go with those goals is really, really important. And when I mention an evaluation, what I mean by that is at the end of every week, at the end of every month, and at the end of every year, I do an evaluation, which is basically reviewing on that week, month, or year. What worked? What didn't work, and what am I going to do differently next time? And this is why I reach my goals, because I'm always building and testing and iterating along the way. So that's essential. Number 3 is it takes a village to build a thriving business, and that's okay. So let me break this one down for you. I used to believe that asking for help was not a good thing, and my goals and achievements didn't really count if I received help. I know that sounds toxic as fuck, and it probably is, but that's just how I viewed things. I felt like I had to do things on my own and be Miss Independent and not ask for help. And honestly, guys, that's not it. That is not the lesson. That is not the way to do business or life. It takes a village to raise a child, to raise a family, to grow in life. It just takes a lot of people to raise a thriving human being. And the same goes for your business. We need support, right? It's so important. And the reason why I say, and that's okay, is because so many people make it wrong, like I used to. It's okay that it takes a village. You don't need to hold the burden, the pain, the challenges, and the suffering all by yourself. I lean into so much support, and I credit that as one of the lessons for how I reached $1 million in under 4 years, right? Because I've always had support. I've had my partner's backing from day one. I've got that unconditional support there. I've got support from my friends. I've got support from my family. And even when I didn't have support from my family, thankfully, I had support from other people. This is why it takes a village, right? Not just relying on one person. And that person is including yourself, right? So I've always had my partner's backing. I've had friends backing. I've had family members backing. And I've also had times where, I've had friends that are obviously no longer friends now that didn't back and support me, and family members that didn't back and support me. Like that's, unfortunately part of it. And that's why that third piece is around hiring support. So you've got your partner, you've got your friends, you've got your family, but also hiring support is okay. I've always had a mindset and or business coach. At some points, I've had 3 coaches at once. I don't recommend having 3 business coaches at once or 3 mindset coaches at once, but if you have a different coach for a different area of your life, I'm all here for it. Like, not all athletes have a coach, but all Olympians do. And I think there's something really important to take away from that if you want to be the best of the best and have extraordinary results, right? So I've always had a coach, right? Always had a coach. And I really believe in long-term investing now. Like, I've worked with my coach for several years now, and I will continue to do so. And all of the coaches that I've hired have played such a pivotal role in my life and in my journey and in my business in more ways than I can count. And I'll forever be grateful. So whilst, yes, I grew my business to over $1 million in under 4 years, did I really do that alone? Absolutely not. I've had so much support along the way. So friends, family, my partner, my coaches, I've just had so much support. And then my team, I've got a virtual assistant and I've got a business manager, and I've hired like once off or short-term support as well outside of that at times, whether that's been a website designer, a graphic designer, or whatever that may be, or additional tech support or something like that in the earlier stages. But I just am here because of all of the support, and it's something I'm super grateful for. So it takes a village, and it's okay to ask for help. Like, don't do it on your own. It's so isolating. Like, if you don't have a business coach, I just don't know what you're expecting to get out of business. And it's not to say that you can't do it alone, but will you be able to do it as quickly or as efficiently or in an enjoyable way? Like, what's the first thing you want to do when something good happens in your life? You want to share it with people. You want to tell people. If you don't have support, who the heck do you tell? Like, who do you share that with? Who do you get to enjoy that with? It's nowhere near as fulfilling. Okay, so it takes a village, and it's okay to ask for support. I probably ask questions to my coach like 4 times a week, and I quote unquote know what I'm doing, and I'm very solid in who I am and what I'm doing and how I show up. And I ask for support still. Why? Because I move faster, and because it's okay. It's okay to bounce ideas off with someone. It's okay to just need a pep talk or get a second opinion or get some feedback or get some advice or have questions answered. I think that's really healthy and important. It's not healthy to be dependent, but, relying on people as well as yourself, and having the ability to be independent, but the desire to lean into people is really important. Number 4 is mastering simple strategies is better than dabbling in everything. So again, I was taught from certain coaches and people in the industry earlier on was like, be everywhere, do everything, be on every social media platform, post everywhere, like do all this and do all that. And it was overwhelming, to be honest. And I'm like a multi-passionate person. I'm very driven. I'm very good at action taking. Very organized. Like, I have the capability to do that, and it felt unaligned, it felt wrong, it felt like I was half doing stuff, and in all honesty, it's because I was, especially in the beginning when I didn't have as much support. Like, I didn't have a team. I was doing it all myself, and I was trying to be everywhere all at once and master everything, and that's really difficult to do when you're not putting your 100% into one thing. So what I learned eventually is that instead of dabbling in everything and like half doing shit or even quarter doing shit, instead master one thing and get really, really, really good at it. And I don't mean necessarily putting all of your eggs in one basket where you're oblivious to other opportunities and ways of doing things and additional sources of, support or where results can come from. But you definitely want to have one core thing that you do go all in on to actually master. For me, it was running online events. Like running online events has just been key to my success, like because it's allowed me to reach a lot of people and help a lot of people and therefore make offers to a lot of people and therefore sign a lot of clients, right? Because I'm just, rather than all of this one-to-one time or waiting for people to come to me or never reaching out or leaning into people or following up or never creating valuable experiences to actually educate people and show people that I can help them. Like instead I've run events where I've done all of that, and I wouldn't be so good at that if I didn't commit to mastery of that. And when I say commit to mastery, I'm just like being consistent and doing the same thing over and over again. I have followed the same process for years now, and I've only gotten better and better at it. And this year was a huge turning point for me in terms of how I went about that. And that's ultimately how I've been able to make over $1 million, is because I run events. It's so sustainable and simple and scalable. So that was what I mastered, and now I teach that formula to my clients so they can receive the same results and more if they action and master it. And number 5, who you are being plays a bigger role than you think. So many people want the strategy, and that was me. All I wanted was the how-to. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But in all honesty, if who you are being, like how you're behaving, how you're feeling, how you're processing, what you believe in the process of doing isn't a match and isn't congruent with what you want, you're going to struggle. You're going to really struggle to grow. And so what I realized is that I wanted these big, amazing results earlier on in my business, but my fear and my scarcity and my doubt was overruling. And it's very hard to attract abundance and be magnetic for money and wealth and expansion and love and fulfillment when your core energy is fear and doubt and scarcity and urgency and thinking about yourself. Like it's really hard to be in that expansive state when you're actually in that state. And so what I realized is that who you are being, your energy, your mindset, and all of that needs to align with what it is you want. And so I just follow the same process each month, in my business, and that's how I sign clients. And because I just follow the same formula every time, it's just gotten easier and easier and faster and better every single time. And so what I then spend most of my time doing is focusing on who I'm being, how I'm showing up, how I handle challenges, how I invest in myself, how I make decisions. And the more congruent and in integrity and in alignment I got with that, the better. Like truly, like the better my results were, the faster my results were, because I was a match for it. So that's actually where I spend a lot of my time. I invest in a lot of healing. I've done hypnotherapy, I've done timeline therapy, I've done kinesiology, I've done breath work, I've done meditation, I've done retreats, I've done journaling, I've done cacao ceremonies. I've done so many things, and I continue to explore and sit with things. And yeah, right now I'm about to begin a big breathwork journey, and I'm so excited. I've also done cold therapy and lots of exercise. Like I've done lots of things to work on my mindset and make sure that I'm congruent in all areas, and all of these sorts of things I pay attention to, because I know how you do one thing is how you do many things. And if I want these extraordinary results, like $1 million in a relatively short period of time, like my behavior better be a freaking match for that. So who you are being plays a bigger role than you think. Let me summarize these 5 lessons for you in a nutshell. Lesson number 1, consistency is key with your thoughts, feelings, strategy, actions, and commitment. And to do that requires discipline. Number 2, setting specific goals each year, month, and week with a well-crafted plan and evaluation to back them is essential. It takes a village to build a thriving business, and that's okay. That's number 3. Number 4, mastering simple strategies is better than dabbling in everything. And number 5, who you are being plays a bigger role than you think. These are 5 really key lessons that I hope you can hear my passion and enthusiasm, even though it's quite late at night now, because I'm very passionate about this topic and it's genuinely helped me so much. So hopefully you have learned something. If you've got a main takeaway, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or all of the above, please let me know. Share this episode on your social media platform. I would absolutely love to see who listens to the podcast, who gets value out of the podcast, and it just means the world to me when you spread this message far and wide. So if you could please do that, or leave a 5-star review so that, you know, we get ranked a little higher so more people can be exposed to this valuable information, it would just make my whole day and more. Like, it doesn't go unnoticed at all. So that would be so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for holding this space, for listening, for being here, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could take a moment to spread the word so that I can continue to create episodes such as this each week, by either leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform or sharing this episode to your Instagram stories and tagging me. In return, I would love to give back. I would love to gift you my 10 money mindset journal prompts workbook. This workbook will take you through the very journal prompts that have supported me to clear my money blocks, master my mindset, and grow a 7-figure coaching business. Once you have either left a positive review and or shared the episode to your Instagram stories, come DM me on Instagram at Sofia Bernardi, and I will send you the journal prompts workbook. Thank you so much in advance, and I'll see you in the next episode.